76ers, Eagles, and Phillies fan,
It must be Tuesday.
that it is. Down in Sports Talk, we in the building. Myself, left-handed at um, RM Des on X and Twitter and all that, which is this right now. You know the vibes. That's my Code D over there in the building. That's Yada Bear in the house. You know what I mean? They love Yada Bear so much, man. They can't keep her name out their mouth, man. You know what I mean? Yada Bear don't bother nobody, man. She just handle her bi. You know what I mean? Don't hate because the ceilings got a little bit uh higher. Don't
It
hate.
got a
You
little
know what I
bit, a little
mean?
bit higher,
Don't. It be people hating on Browski, man. Browski don't bother nobody. She just come on here Tuesday nights and talk her sports ish and keep it moving. But again, if your name is not in their mouth, that means you're not on their mind. So
Exactly.
that's how they go. We in the building, down in Sports Talk. We in the house. Another Tuesday night, giving it up like we do. Um, Tonight is the night. Hope everybody enjoyed their Memorial Day holiday and all of that good stuff. You know what I mean? It really doesn't hold the meaning and weight that it used to. You know what I mean? And just keeping it on that perspective. You know what I mean? Because again, um, as much as we like to talk about where we are in the here and now, you always, well, myself, will always look back and say, well, damn, we had it good, word up. You know what I mean? Memorial Day was Memorial Day. It meant something, you know what I mean? And me being a big baseball dude, Memorial Day was like, you get to see all the baseball teams, that you
Yeah.
usually don't see. Um, but that's just what it is. We're gonna get into some baseball heavy tonight. All right, Browski gets to finally talk about Kyle Schwarber and her Phillies and all that. And I'm gonna talk my issue about the Yankees and all that. But before we get into a thing, and we're gonna talk some NBA playoffs, conference finals, and all that. You see it, Browski. You see it. You see it. She try to play front and play it off like she don't see it. She see it.
I see it. I
Um,
see it.
Nick's in the building. We're gonna do some play by play like we do. We in the building. The game is on, so we're gonna be getting in and out, talking about everything and being in and out. Moves to make tonight. You already know it's the end of the month, so moves to make tonight. So let's get into a thing, ladies and gentlemen. Without further ado, Philly's own Yada Bear in the house. What's up, Browski?
Hey, chilling. Had the Phillies on the TV playing the Braves right now. Um, you know, Major League Baseball has been doing this new thing where they promoting like rivalries now. So it's supposed to be rivalry week this week, and then in June, like the 22nd of June, it's supposed to be like a rivalry weekend. So now we playing the Braves. First time we're seeing them this season. Um, Ronald Acuna Jr. back. Um, it's good to see him back after that. ACL injury he had last season. He's coming back with a vengeance. He his first two games back, he hit a home run. I was like, oh, look at that! Like right back, like
Yo, don't sell my man short. First
not,
pitch he
no,
saw,
yeah, no,
he
that's what I'm saying.
cracked it.
Yeah, like he right back, like he never left.
True that.
Pick right back up where he left
Mm-hmm.
off at before he hurt himself.
See,
So I was like,
Browski feeling the pressure now. See, the beginning
oh,
of the season, I talked about the Atlanta Braves, and Browski was like, See, I said when I know Acuna come back, it's gonna be a thing. But we gonna hear from Browski tonight. She gonna let us know what it is.
I can't
She
really
gonna let us
go
know what it
that
is.
far, especially when they ace and Spencer Strider have an ERA over 5.
Yeah,
Like
he put you
so,
like a
I
bum,
I
right?
mean,
Yeah.
we can go there.
Oh,
But since we are talking about my Phillies, they got the best record, one of the best records in baseball. But I don't care about that because again, championships you don't win those in May. You know, it's still extremely early. We're doing our first check in. Um,
yeah.
I mean, we didn't had this same record for the past 3 seasons.
Mm,
And it came
mm,
up meaning nothing.
mm.
It came up with us losing in the NLCS, losing, you know, in the second round of playoffs, and now here we are in the third season with the same record, 33-18, and it's like, oh, you know, you got one of the best records in baseball, and I'm like, that means nothing at the end because I seen the end result with that same record, you know. It is good to see that Kyle Schwarber, started out the year hot. Jeremy, his hottest months is June, July. So to see him already at 18 home runs before June is looking up. I like the fact that we have Bryson Stock leading off. He belongs in the leadoff spot. Um, because it gives him more at bats and it gives him more quality at bats and more quality pitches to see. And when he was lower down in the lineup, he wasn't in his rhythm, and he wasn't really hitting like that, especially last season when he was at the bottom of the lineup. So to see um, they'll move him up in the lineup and having some confidence in them, it really has paid off. And then having Trey Turner, at second, and Harper at third, um, and having Kyle Schwarber hitting cleanup is extremely um, beneficial for us because all those solo home runs that he was hitting last season now maybe a 2 run or a 3 run. He has more opportunities to produce RBIs, not just from hitting home runs, but just from batting in general. So having him there, it also helps Bryce Harper to see quality pitches, at the 3 spot because before they were just always throwing them junk because they could, because it was no threat really behind him. Now you have Kyle behind them. It's like you gotta pick your poison. Um, pitching wise, um, looking pretty good. Aaron Nola, struggle bus for this guy. Um, I said it last year when we signed him. I don't think we should have gave him all that money because I feel like he was on the downward spiral. Right now, he got this quote unquote ankle injury. It just came out the blue. I'm loving it. Let it take your time, let it heal. We just give my guys more time to, I don't know, maybe call up this prospect that we had and we've been waiting to bring up by the name of Andrew Painter. We've been waiting for Painter to come up here. He's finally in AAA. Um, his progress slowed down because he had to get Tommy John surgery a couple years ago, so that kind of slowed him up. But now he's in AAA, and they're saying this guy down there throwing gems, and I need it. Like I'm the one thing about the Phillies that kills me with them sometimes they wait too long to bring up prospects. You know, prime example, Ryan Howard. It took them years. He was almost 26 before they brought him up. I'm like, why y'all? Like, you got this monster in AAA just hitting all these home runs for nothing. Like he just hitting all these empty home runs in AAA. And it's like, what are you waiting to bring this guy up for? We could have been have better success with you got 35 plus home runs sitting at AAA, just hanging out, just you know I'm like, come on, Philly. So I'm hoping that they don't um, do the same thing with the kid Andrew Painter. They keep saying they give me like June, July vibes, and they may call him up. I just need it sooner than later. But I mean, other than that, Phillies, we're just gonna take it one game at a time. Um, you said you want to talk about the biggest surprise of this season.
Yeah,
Um,
who do you think is in your opinion, Basky, from what you've seen so far at the quarter poll, who's the biggest surprise and who's your biggest disappointment?
um, See, it's not really a surprise to me because we kind of been talking about this team, and you probably want to agree with me, and it might be kind of like your surprise. Um, but I would have to say my biggest surprise is it's not just one team. It's a division. It's the NL West. That's my biggest surprise because it's so close. At the beginning of the season, remember we were talking about how the Dodgers probably gonna run away with the NL West because they're stacked. But when you look at the standings right now, you know the Diamondbacks is only 6 games back. In the West, you got the Dodgers, the Padres, and the Giants, and we've been talking about the Giants, for the past year, and
Hmm.
how they have been slowly building on something nice, and now it's starting to come in fruition because they're only 2 games back in the NL West, you know. So my biggest surprise is how close this race in the NL West is, and I think it's going to stay this way the whole season because I think we saw all the numbers, you know the big deals, some people getting damn near $500 million, to play for the Dodgers, and we see all the names, and we see how they build off of them winning the World Series last season. It's like, well, who's going to beat the Dodgers? And it's like, well, actually they're getting beat up in the NL West. So it's like they're not this big scary machine that we thought. They're not the boogeyman. Um, Biggest disappointment, it gotta be the Baltimore Orioles. It have to be. We've seen this team progress, come out of the dungeon, made it to the playoffs, made some good moves, bring some brought the young guys up, had the young guys playing, and the young guys, had them in the playoffs, had us talking about them, made them excited. And then we come this season, and it's like, did they forget how to play baseball? And then not only that, you fire the manager. You don't even give him a chance to kind of see if he could turn it around. You get him out of here early, and it does nothing because they're still losing. So, um, haven't seen the Baltimore Orioles fall from grace that quickly is wild because we expect certain teams to be bad. Chicago White Sox, we know the White Sox going to be bad.
Right,
We
right.
know the Athletics going to be bad. Right now we know the Marlins is going to be bad. We know the Pirates and the
Rockies.
Rockies is going to be bad. Like we know that those teams are going to be bad, but to see the Baltimore Orioles fall right in line, the Marlins won more games than them. Okay, so it's just crazy
Right,
to see them
right.
at the bottom like that. Not even just the bottom of their own division, but the bottom of like
Of the league.
of the league. They are right there at the bottom. It's crazy, and
Go ahead and say it. Go ahead and say it, Browski. The
what
Orioles suck.
they do suck. They are terrible. They
The
are.
Orioles suck.
They suck, and it came at them fast.
Mm.
I think it came
Mm.
at them out the blue. I don't even think they realized coming to the season how bad it was going to be, and it was just like a surprise. Like they just could not put together wins, and it
Let
was
me let
like,
me let me say this. Let me say this while we're on the Orioles because we are that's the say that's my biggest
mm-hmm,
disappointment. Um, I think after a couple years, you know what I think happened?
what?
Um, they start believing their own hype
Ah, mm-hmm.
because all of those dudes was killing it at the same time. Ollie Rushman,
It was.
Cedric Mullins. I mean, they got rid of Santander. He went to Toronto, which may have something to do with the
Mm-hmm.
clubhouse thing. Um, you know, Jackson Holiday. Who's the other kid? Henderson, Gunnar
Henderson,
Henderson.
Gunda Henderson.
They
Yeah,
had the pitching. They were all doing it. They were all having, doing their thing at the same time. Then
yeah,
all of a sudden, they made the playoffs. They got swept by
yep,
Texas. They
yep,
made the playoffs the next year.
yep.
But in between that first and the second year, people were like, "Oh snap! The Orioles! To watch the Orioles! The Orioles are coming! The
Watch
Orioles got
out
a
for
squad!
them. They
Watch
got
out! Here we
something
go!"
going.
You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Um, Last year they were doing their numbers. They kind of fell into a funk a little bit there.
They did.
And they still made the playoffs and got beat by Texas Rangers again.
Exactly. Yeah.
So now we go to 2025. Jackson Holiday's trying to come into his own. Gunnar Henderson fell off. You know what I
All
mean?
the
We
way
don't hear
off.
about Cedric Mullins, no Santander. They're pitching. The kid Corbin Burns left and went to Arizona.
Yep.
So again, the team is different, but it shouldn't be that much of a difference. It's like you said, the looking at the Baltimore Orioles, they got 19 wins, and the Athletics, who are homeless, have 21.
Exactly.
So I mean, what does that say about the Baltimore Orioles? Because again,
Mhm.
when you're a team that to somewhat of a laughing stock, you're gonna get laughed at. And for the Orioles to be in the position that they're in, they're too good. But I'm
Mhm.
not going to dwell on that because they're in my division, so screw them. But
Mhm.
go ahead and finish your thought in regards to what you're looking at as far as the quarter pole is concerned with baseball. Finish your thought.
Well, what I'm looking forward to, is for my team is just to it just focus on the small ball. Like we get caught up with home runs. I'm liking, I like when we play small ball. Just get on base, move them over. Let's just score. I don't want us to have to rely on hitting home runs. Every game. Um, I'm looking forward to, hopefully, hopefully somewhere during the trade deadline we can find a closer since I got Jose Alvarado um,
Oh yeah,
being
oh yeah,
fast.
oh
Oh,
yeah.
taking weight loss drug. Oh, it's a substance in there, and now he got banned for 80 games for PEDs.
What happened to the little kid guy that was imitating him in the crowd or whatever? What happened to
Right?
him?
Yeah, right. And then what makes it,
Basky
like
said,
what
yeah.
But what kills me the most about his suspension is that he will be ineligible for the postseason.
Well,
So right there, that's like, well, that's the year right
yeah, he's
there.
done. He's done till
Yeah,
next year. Yep.
you done.
He might as well
So
start spring training now.
yeah, so go out there and lose the weight now. Now you got time to lose the weight.
You
You
ain't got
know,
nothing else to do.
you got nothing but
And then
time on your
Novi.
hands. So it's just we just gotta figure out this bullpen because we gotta get a closer. If we're trying to make a run, you know, till November, October, November, we need a closer, and just gotta figure out. But go
How
ahead.
many how many all stars do you have?
I mean, if I be realistically, two, three, I would say about four.
Okay.
Mm.
All
Yeah,
right. Okay. I'll buy that. Four.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I give four. Um, Two of them being pitchers. Zach Roller and Jesus Lazaro. He's lights out. He's been
Okay. So
ridiculous.
he so who is he your MVP of this for the Phillies so far this season?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's also, they were talking about, early candidate for Cy Young, but he's been pitching lights out. Like he's been, like he took Nola's spot. Like he's legit number two.
Okay.
Zach will always be number one because he day one. He's locked in number one. But Jesus definitely number two. Um, Christopher Sanchez three. He's definitely three. And that fourth spot, flip between Nola and Ranger Suarez. Ranger actually, has been back from his injuries. He's been looking pretty good too. So, it's gonna be.
Ranger Suarez ain't been right since he brought his kids to the game.
I look at the family here. It's like, yo, send them back. Like,
And
what are you doing
they was
here?
looking all sad. they
Yeah,
was looking all sad and depressed and whatnot.
send them people back. Like, cause he messing
um,
up my man vibe. Like he
right,
killing it.
we
But so
we in
far
the
he been
building.
looking all right. He been looking good so far. But we got to see what they're gonna do. With Aaron Nola when he come back because for the look the money that we gave him, we gotta play him. Like you have to play him. He has to fit somewhere in this rotation, but it definitely won't be the top three. Okay, but go ahead. What about
Yeah,
you?
man. So I'm gonna run this down real quick. We're gonna talk about the Yankees, and then we're gonna get into a little round the league thing. Um, First place, I can't complain. Are we where we supposed to be? Probably so. I can't get too mad about what's going on right now, even though Garrett Cole is out, Louis Hill is still out, Clark Schmidt is still out. But we holding the fort. John Carlos Stanton is out, and we don't see him coming back anytime soon.
Yeah,
We're getting contributions from the young guys. Jason Dominguez is showing up. I like it. So I really don't really have too many complaints. Again, it's just the quarter pole of the season. I like where we are. And as far as the league is concerned, we'll start with the division first. The Tampa Bay Rays are in second place. What else you need to say about the rest of the American League East? You know what I
yeah.
mean? When we started off, a few weeks back, it was about the Boston Red Sox, and they were doing their numbers. They too busy trying to figure out what color uniform they're gonna wear next. You know what I mean? So again, in between the Boston Red Sox and the Toronto Blue Jays and the Tampa Bay Rays, who are playing at our spring training facility. But again, they're just a team that really doesn't have anything to lose. They're not a really particularly bad team. It isn't a bad situation.
Hmm.
So again, will they be there? At the end of July, who knows? You know what I mean? I know they probably get a lot of rainouts because again, I think that their schedule was top heavy, but now they're gonna have to play those home games, and it's gonna
Hmm.
probably be a lot of rainouts in Tampa and all of that. So whatever they was dealing with when they was on the inside, now they got to deal with on the outside.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? So that's that. The American League Central is looking like the Detroit Tigers are they back? I mean, Terry Scuba is the truth. Terry Scuba is that guy. Terry Scuba is leading the resurgence. And if you notice or not, a lot of free agents and guys are talking about the Detroit Tigers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And a lot of guys are, liking what's going on over there. And I think that, the Tigers right now, they're leading the American League Central with a comfortable margin over Cleveland, Minnesota, and Kansas City, right?
Hmm.
I had Kansas City Royals winning this division. I still like them to win the division. Bobby Witt Jr. hasn't, been what he's supposed to be so far this season at the quarter pole.
Yeah.
The Kansas City Royals, they're at 500 to be 29 and 26, but they're treading water right now. You talk about them now. You look at the Cleveland Indians, Cleveland Guardians. You know what
Uh-huh.
I mean? I heard that they're trying to get that name back.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you look at them, and you look at the Minnesota Twins. They don't know what they want to be, but they're hot. They're hot right now.
They are.
But back to the Detroit Tigers. I mean, who's messing with them in the end of May, get ready to go into June. So right now we're just kind of like we're doing our thing and we're looking at who we like and who we could talk about now as far as being teams that might, like Rowski brought up earlier, might be able to be buyers
Hmm.
instead of sellers. All right. So we talk about the American League West. Who's in first place in the American League West? The Seattle Mariners.
Yep.
I don't believe it.
Me neither.
I don't believe it. I really don't really care about the American League West because again, at the end of the day, there are teams in the American League West, but are they good teams? Texas don't know what they want to be. They was world champions not too long ago. Houston Astros, they don't know what they want to be now. All of a sudden, the Angels, Mike Trout was trying to do his thing, and now they falling back to where they figured they'd be at. The Yankees are out there now playing with the Angels, and then you have the Athletics. You better watch out for the Athletics. I'm telling you, if you're trying to win that division, and you're gonna have those games coming up, and you're gonna have to go out to Sacramento, or you're gonna have Sacramento come and see you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You
They
better
can
be
they can
ready because
spoil some stuff for you. They can spoil some stuff.
and look, Browski, they're only 8 games under 500.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
7 games out of first place.
Yeah.
Again, I think if they played a little bit better at home, they're 9 and 19 at home. If they play, they'd really be a threat. Now, could you imagine? You know what I mean? Again, as much as we talk about, and I thought about this over the weekend. Um, we talk about, Major League Baseball being the creme de la creme. Why does Major League Baseball have, off the top of my head now, two of its franchises playing in minor league parks?
I know it's crazy.
It's weird to a certain degree, but circumstances, and we have ownership, not wanting to cooperate and stuff like that, and you can't mess with Mother Nature, you know what I mean, in Tampa Bay's case, but again, the major leagues, as much as they try to put this thing about it's the best and this and that and the third, that park down there, I think that park in Tampa only seats like what 11,000 people.
It's only 11,000.
Like,
Yeah.
you know,
It looks like a college
they
game.
gonna hit 11,000 home runs in this in
Yeah,
that place. Talk about the National League a little bit. Browski's division, the NL East, it's just getting started.
it is.
That division is just getting heated up, and I don't think, in my heart of hearts, I don't think any of those teams, any of them, and that's the Miami Marlins included, have started to play their best baseball. I don't think any of those teams, from the Phillies, the Mets, the Braves, and the Nationals, and even the Marlins, I don't think any of them have played their best baseball. The Marlins
No.
only 10 games under 500, right? We're not worried about them as far as the division or the playoffs as the wild card is concerned. Um, the Washington Nationals, and to me, in my opinion, Bowski, are the National League. I was going to say Oakland A's. The National League's athletics. They're a very young team that
They
people
are.
don't want to see.
Yeah.
The record might not be it's 24-29. It's not the best, but at the end of the day, they have a very, very, very young team, a pitching staff. They all coming up together now. What's going to happen once those contracts? They got to renegotiate those deals. You're going to
Hmm.
see James Wood probably go somewhere. They
Oh,
got a couple of
definitely.
pitchers that's really nice. You know what I
Yep.
mean? You got the kid C.J. Abrams at shortstop. You know what I mean? So I think the Nationals are not yet. They're not ready yet because again, um, they got to get through a gauntlet. That's the Braves, that's the Mets, and that's the Phillies. Speaking of the Braves, they got Ronald Acuna Jr. back, so they should be really getting ready to gear up right now. You know what I mean? The first pitch he saw boomed it. You know what I mean? And since then, he's boomed a couple of home runs. I think Browski's Phillies are dealing with the Braves right now. So,
Yep.
just let these, by the time we get to our next marking point, we should really be and have a clearer vision of who's doing what as far as the divisions are concerned. The close divisions are going to reveal themselves. And what I mean by that, Browski, is still going to be
Yep.
like a 2 or 3 game difference between first and second place. So those will
Hmm.
be the divisions to watch. The National League Central. The Chicago Cubs, right? A lot of people picked them to win the World Series. Why? I don't know. Um, they're in first place. I give them that. To me, they're in baseball's weakest strong division.
They are.
They're in baseball's weakest strong division. And the reason why I say that is because, you got teams like, the Cubs, the Cardinals, the Brewers, the Reds, the Pirates. It would be like in third or fourth place in any other division.
Hmm.
That's how you got to look at the National League Central. That's a division where, I mean, the Cubs are doing their numbers, but I mean, at the end of the day, you know, they're the best of a bad lot. I'll say that. Anybody can win that division. My favorite team in that division for years has been the St. Louis Cardinals, right? But that was then. This is now. There's no
Hmm.
Yadier Molina, right? There's no Paul Goldschmidt. He played for the Yankees, right?
No
You
Pujols.
know what I mean? So again, there's definitely no Ozzie Smith or no Gary Templeton, right? So the Cardinals are going to be what they are. The Cardinals are going to be one of those teams that rely on tradition. They're always going to stay good, but when they're bad, they're really bad. The Brewers are kind of like that team that we're waiting for to come up, but they never really get over that hump. Browski, we talk about those teams all the time. that we waiting for them.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like the now I would say it as bad as the Baltimore Orioles. They had the roof hasn't caved in yet, but the Brewers have had some teams right now, you know, and for them to be under 500 and they're playing underwhelming baseball. Cincinnati Reds, you know, as much as we talk about LA De La was it De La Rosa, De La Cruz,
De La Cruz.
um, he's got mad errors. Mad errors. And I think that a lot of that is for him trying to, you know, his arm is just ridiculous. I'm not mad at that. You know what I mean? But he's got to kind of like find his way as far as, you know, playing the shortstop position. The National League West.
Mhm.
Browski talked about the National League West being that division where, you know, they're powerhouses that some of them don't even realize they're powerhouses, right? You got the Dodgers. That's the supposed to be the powerhouse. No
Yeah.
questions asked. You got the Padres. That's a powerhouse that don't realize they're a powerhouse yet. Then you got the San Francisco Giants who are trying to build into be a powerhouse.
Mhm.
And
On
the
the way.
Arizona Diamondbacks, who were in the World Series a couple years ago, their power is kind of like diminished a little bit. Even though they got Corbin Burns, they're still at 500. What are we doing with them?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And the Colorado Rockies, you know, I don't know. But at the quarter pole right now, you know, baseball's baseball. Just wish lot of people were talking about it more. But of course, you know, you got the NBA, you know, conference finals going on, and you got OTAs and NFL, so that's always going to take precedence over what baseball's doing. But I'm a baseball dude. I kind of feel like with baseball, it's kind of like how hockey feels. Now hockey's got to wade through baseball, football,
Everything.
basketball. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
WNBA, Monday Night Raw. You know what I mean? Or, you know what I'm saying?
Everything.
You know what I'm
Everything.
saying? Pickleball. You know what I mean? But again, I'm a baseball dude. Went to a couple of games. Plan on going to a few more. All day with the Yankees, and again, we're at the quarter bowl. It's Memorial Day.
Mhm.
What did you do for your Memorial Day, Browski?
I actually work.
Okay,
You know,
that
I
money,
actually
man.
work. You know. How about you?
I worked on not working. Watching, you know, watching some basketball and kind of like just relaxing and enjoying the day and kind of
Okay.
like just, you know, keeping a low profile, man. You know what I mean? And then staying out of trouble and staying off of CNN and all that good stuff. But I heard through the grapevine, because the grapevine is connected, that there was something that went on out there in your neck of the woods at a park or something.
Oh, no. That's this week in the Roots picnic.
No, it was a shooting, a shooting.
Oh, oh. Well, I mean,
Look at me putting Browski up on the
listen,
news.
listen. This is Philly. It's shootings every day.
Right,
Okay, it's at this
right.
park, that park. Somebody's getting shot, so
Somebody getting shot.
I'm
But
not surprised to
yeah,
hear that.
man, that's crazy.
Hmm.
But let's get into these NBA
Yeah.
conference finals here. Let's get into that. Let's get into the NBA conference finals. Let's start off with the Western Conference, Minnesota Timberwolves and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Somebody's lying. You're not really hearing nothing a lot from one Ant Man guy. Um, this is where you're supposed to make your money at, you know. And I think the only ones that's really showing improvement right now in this part of the game with the Western Conference Finals is the Oklahoma City Thunder. You know, um, Shea Gilgis Alexander, the MVP. Congratulations on that. Again, he's got a team around. We talked about the Oklahoma City Thunder a couple years ago, so you know this is something where you call Brasky where coming into fruition
Yes.
because we talked about them. You know, with the Chet Holmgrens and you know what they're doing with Shea Gilgis Alexander and how they moving around and moving, shaking and popping, becoming one of those teams in the league where you got to watch. But here's my thing with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Why? do they always have to mention the Seattle Supersonics in the same breath with Oklahoma City Thunder? Seattle Supersonics did their thing. The Seattle Supersonics, uh, you know, that was one part of their history. Um, I don't think that really should be mentioned. You know, let the Oklahoma City Thunder have their own identity. Because for one, basketball, they get ready to bring the Seattle Supersonics back.
Yeah.
That's one reason why I say that. You know what I mean? It hasn't been since 1979 with the Oklahoma City Thunder because the Oklahoma City Thunder wasn't around. That
Mhm.
was, Dennis Johnson and downtown Freddie Brown and Jack Sigma and Lonnie Shelton and all of that. You know what I mean? That's when the games was coming on at 11:30 at night. You know what I mean? So, no disrespect to what Oklahoma City is doing because they built that.
Mhm.
Salute to them. You know, um, but I feel like right now Ant Man and them ran into their kryptonite.
Um. Yeah. During his post game interview, he it kind of bothered me when he said like he was making excuses. I didn't get enough shots. I didn't get enough looks. There's a lot of excuses coming from his end, and maybe maybe some of us jumped the gun a little bit on this guy.
Mm,
He stated that he doesn't want to be the face of the league. People
right,
are trying to make him
right.
the face of the league. Um, he doesn't want that title. It's like, so is it us that's pushing this on to this guy and expecting him to live up to these high expectations that we have? Or maybe our expectations of him is too high, you know. And when I look at Minnesota team, um, don't take it the wrong way. It kind of reminds me of the Knicks team, heavy reliant on like two guys, and when these two guys don't show up, it's a disaster. Um, Ant not showing up, Julius Randle, like, bro, what
Hmm.
happened to you? And the thing about Julius Randle, you've been on his case for
That's
years,
right.
and I think that other people outside have been looking at Julius Randle with like beer goggles. He had a one great season in LA. Hitting threes, aggressive, just out there, just doing his numbers. And then it's like he just took that season, and everybody just have that season like burnt in their
Stuck in their head.
memory. Yeah,
Right.
so that every time they see him, no matter, like, well, if he was that great in LA, why would they move on from him? They moved on from him. They sent him away. And then when he's in New York, it was like well, wait a minute. If he's so great, why did they move on from him and replace him with Cat? So, and seeing him the other day, it just reminded me like, damn, this guy, he definitely do strength in the big moments. We saw it with him with the Knicks in the playoffs, and now we're seeing it once again in Minnesota. But when I flip on OKC side, and like we said, we've been talking about OKC for
Hmm.
years. Their core group: Chet, SGA, Jalen Williams, homegrown guys. Even though SGA was traded over to them, but he was still young in his career.
Hmm. That's right. That's
So
right.
I still look at that being homegrown. They built this team from the draft. They core guys, and then you sprinkle in, Hartenstein,
Hartenstein, right.
Alex
Dort.
Caruso,
Hmm.
Lou Dort. You sprinkle in guys like that to fill in the holes, and it's like it all comes together. Um, to me, it's crazy. You know, Seeing SGA damn near drop a 40-point triple double, and I'm looking at Ant, like, so you just gonna let this, you just letting this cat drop 40 on you, bro?
There you go, Browski.
And you
There you
want to
go,
talk about,
Browski.
oh,
There
I
you
just
go,
didn't get that
Browski.
many
Yep.
opportunities. It's like,
Yep.
no, bro. Like, where's your sense of pride? Where's your competitive nature? This guy is on this other side. He's killing y'all. Okay? Not only is he's killing y'all, he's getting everybody else involved. You got Jalen Williams killing y'all. Chet killing y'all. Like, it's crazy. And then, like, when I look at Minnesota, here we
Mhm.
go again.
Mhm.
Where's Nas Reed at? You know, but with if Ant and Julius Randle not scoring, they have nobody else can score in that team. Nobody can score. Mike Conley Jr. No, you know, nobody's
I
scoring
mean,
outside of Ant.
got McDaniel's, DiVincenzo.
If
When
you're
they,
relying on if you are relying on Dante DiVincenzo pull you pull out the Matthew Belladevova type of player, then you got a problem. If you're
I
looking at
mean, and the reason why I bring him up, I mean, again, he had 21 points.
but
So if
again,
in
if
a
you're
game in a
looking
game
if
like that, Kimmy, if he's got 21 points, where the hell is Julius Randle at? Why Julius Randle only got 5?
that's what I'm saying. If you're looking for Dante to bail you out, you have a problem.
Been watching too many AT&T commercials.
Too many. Way too many. So right now, they up 3-1. As expected. As expected. They're up 3-1. They're going home. They could be closing out tomorrow and waiting for the winners of the Eastern Conference. Because um, I don't see Minnesota winning another game. It's we and all this time we talk about like OKC offense, but they defense, they play crazy defense. Everybody's a ball hog. The switching, like the active hands, they never flat footed, and that could be because of the youth. They're young, energetic. They're flying around the court. But I mean, I think tomorrow, I think it's over.
And when you when you talk about that, they're being young and having to fly around the court and having exuberance and all of that. To me, I'm right there with you, and I would slide another ingredient into that. They make the court really really small because those dudes are really really tall and big and they
And
span
yeah,
and they
yeah,
have that reach, so they make the court small. So
yes,
again, you got to give Oklahoma City, like you said, their defense a lot of credit. You know what I
yes,
mean? Yeah, they'll give up 126, but they'll score 128.
exactly.
You know what I mean? So again, I think what do you think about the coaching? What do you think that the job that Mark Daniels doing?
I think he's doing an excellent job. Um, I think I think he has these young Thunders prepared. They they're young, but they play like vets. They play like they've been there before. They went out game three, and they lost, and they wasn't rattled. They came out in game four, and just continue to play their game. Um, they didn't panic when Minnesota was making a run. They just didn't panic at all. I'm liking this team. Like I said, I feel like they're gonna win the chip. I feel like they're gonna win the chip this year. I think the cards are lined up for OKC to win it with their second set of homegrown stars. You know, but Go ahead. I'm gonna let you go ahead and talk about your Knicks because I know you're.
Yeah, I'm trying to
Yeah.
make a case. I'm trying to make a case for the Knicks right now. I mean, we just where it's at right now. To me, it's like you got to kind of like take it one game at a time.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? You gotta crawl before you walk. You know, we're down in the series right now. The first thing we gotta do is get even. Then we worry about game five. Then we worry about game six and whatever comes after that. Are we, a team that I can see winning the finals? Yes. But everything has to fall your way. Everything. First of all, there's no injury. Second of all, you're playing the right type of basketball. Um, Thibodeau's finally now reaching, to his bench and seeing that he has some warm bodies on the bench that he could throw 6 fouls out there. You know what I mean? I can throw this guy out there, let him see what he can do. You know what I mean? And it worked. Will it work every night? No, because again, you don't know what kind of performance you're going to get from your players every night. But I am going to say this, and I've been a Knicks fan since the early '70s, right? Little kid. I seen, Clyde Frazier, Earl of Pearl, Stephon Marbury, Langston Galloway, Penny Hardaway, Chris Childs, Mo Cheeks, um, Ray Williams, Michael Ray Richardson, um, 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 Jeremy Lin out this morning, to now with Jalen Brunson, right? And I'm going to say this about Jalen Brunson. I like Jalen Brunson. I think right now he's being scrutinized. Fairly so. Because again, when he's on the court, it's like, the numbers don't lie, and I'm not really a number analytical dude. But you can see it. I don't need a number to tell me that when Jalen Brunson's on the court, the defense is lacking. I don't need the numbers to tell me that. But the numbers will tell you that when Jalen Brunson's on the court, the Knicks are minus 20. They will tell you that. And the numbers will tell you when Jalen Brunson's not on the floor, the Knicks are like a plus 12. So when you say that, when you're looking at that, Jalen Brunson's play on the court in these conference finals, you're not like saying, oh, okay, the Knicks are not scoring when he's on the floor. You're just noticing what's going on and what's not happening, right? So again, at the end of the game, we talk about end of game situations. Game one, he got his hand on a situation that he really didn't have to do. Game two, late in the game, the Indiana Pacers were trying to inbound the ball. The Knicks would have got the ball back when he grabbed the back of the jersey. I think it was um who's the guy that was killing us in game three?
Neesmith.
Neesmith, yeah.
Mhm.
So again, and then he took and then Jalen Brunson took a bad three, which he really didn't have to take.
Mhm.
So not to scrutinize him and not to criticize and stuff like that, but again, I was the first one to say that, and I wasn't being critical. It was just something that I noticed. Now you hear a lot of people talk about, well, Jalen Brunson. Last week Jalen Brunson was Captain Clutch,
Yeah.
and not to take nothing away from him. He makes his shots. He does what he does, but to me, um, does he get a little tight? Because again, he goes from one foul to 4 fouls. He
Real
goes from one
fast.
foul to 5 fouls. Like, how? What the hell is this?
Real
Where do you get
fast.
these
Real
fouls from?
fast.
You know what I mean?
No,
So
that's true.
again, like I don't think I'm the only one that sees it or speaks to it or notices it. But again, it's with all the coaching and the referee stuff that goes on in the series,
Mhm.
that's to be expected. We bring that drama from 1993 to 2025. That the
Mhm.
referees and all that they're gonna do what they do, right? But again, you got to have a fundamental type of mindset to know what to do in situations. That's why Browski. That's why we revere the Larry Birds and the Pistol Pete's and those guys because they thought the game.
Mhm.
And it's a difference between from when you go out there and play, you running this play, and, getting the sweater on and getting your cardio up out there running around playing basketball. But it's a difference in playing with people who know how to play the game. They keep you alert, right? They make you think that you could play a little bit better than you actually are when you're playing with somebody that's really, really nice. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
again, playing with somebody that's really, really nice, you don't want to look like no goofball out there. Because again, we've played with people who are not, don't have the skill set that we have. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? If I'm
Hmm.
playing, and I'm playing with somebody that's really not that nice, I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
But if I'm playing with somebody that's way better than me, I'm gonna step my game up because I know I can play.
Yeah. I
You
hear
know what
you
I
on
mean?
that. Yeah.
So that's a different thing with me. So again, with Jalen Brunson, I equate that to him as being late in the game and late game situations. Uh, think think the game through, man. And I'm gonna give Thibodeau credit for putting guys like DeLon Wright and Landry Shamet in the game, and like Landry Shamet, like word, you put him in the game, okay, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Um,
Um, I definitely agree with that.
Go ahead, Browski.
Finally, that he definitely start playing the bench. You know,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
was playing
He was gonna have to
a
sometime, right? Go ahead, Kim.
seven,
Hmm.
8 man rotation. Like you're burning your team out. So to see, Precious Achua getting at least 2 minutes,
Right.
you
Precious is
know,
sure.
uh,
Let's go,
McBride
Browski.
getting 7 minutes,
Right.
Wright getting 4, Shammer getting 1, and the best move I'll say that he made is not starting Josh Hart. I don't understand why it took him 3 games to realize you cannot start Josh Hart with this Pacers team. You know, you have you have Mitchell Robinson and you have Precious Achua there. You have Precious Achua is basically 6 fouls you have right there.
Right. That's right.
Like what are we doing here? And then we have Mitchell Robinson here along with Cat. That helps Cat on the defensive side so he don't have to be stuck on Miles Turner or or Siakam. He can choose which one which one he's going to be guarding, and it's not burning these guys out. For the past like for the first 2 games, they're playing damn near 40 minutes a game.
Talk about it.
It's like, of course they don't have no legs in the fourth quarter, and God forbid it goes to overtime. The first game went to overtime. They was dead out there, and then to turn around to play again a day, you have one day off, and you go back and
Hmm.
play, and you playing 40 minutes again. It's like these guys are
And
out there
son.
dead. They got no legs. So um, him making that change, that adjustment, um, hats off to him for doing that. Um, it made prolong the series. Like this game right here, this game is very important. Like to me, I think it's a must-win game for both teams. You know, Knicks they want to even up the series to go back to New York even, but the Pacers they also want to try to take this one and go up 3-1. So to me, this is a must-win game for both teams. Um, and I feel like it's going to most likely going to be a close game. It's already tied up already in the second quarter. And I feel like whoever wins this game, I think is going to take the series. Whoever wins this game.
Listen, um, I like to talk about the Knicks, right? And when I talk about the Knicks, I just talk about them from being, not used to being in the position of saying, well, hey, yeah, we're gonna be perennial winners and we can win and win this and win that and win the third.
Hmm.
Right now I'm in a position right now in my Knicks fandom to kind of like, yeah, we could cheer them on and root them on and make it happen, but these cats have to do it for they have to want it for themselves.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Finish the job. You know, um, and I'm gonna speak to what goes on Seventh Avenue after Nick victories in the playoffs. Like That's that gets a little tired and played out too. You know what I mean? Um, you have to do that when it means something. And I'm not going in that direction, Bosky. I'm not coming down on nobody, nothing like that. But even the people saying it, like, this is not New York. This is not what we do. We don't
Mhm.
jump out the window and crash out after a second round, game two win. We celebrate and get ready for the next one.
Yeah.
These cats is, doing too much. And do you criticize them for being, you know, youthful and this? But are they really fans? Or are they just jumping on something a bandwagon that's hot right now? Because you see the difference of when they come out of the garden after they lose, as
Mhm.
opposed to what happens on Seventh Avenue after they win.
Mhm.
That was what happened after the Knicks win. How they come out the garden, like we just walking on to the train and we going home or whatever the case may be. These
Mhm.
cats want to act, and it's not cool. It's not. It's cool once in a while, but then what are you going to do when you win the Eastern Conference Finals? What are you going to do when you win the NBA? And I'm gonna say this right now, Bosky, you better put on some ski goggles. It's about to get hectic.
Oh,
You fresh baby breaths. When the Knicks win the NBA Finals, I don't care what you do. You can jump, holler, scream, do backflips, have your head spin around like the Exorcist. I don't care. Make some room for the fans that are really fans that have been there, that have been waiting since 1973 for this championship. That's all I'm asking. Y'all can do what y'all want to do. Have fun, turn upside down, beat each other in the head, throw each other out the window. I don't care what you do. Make some room for the civilized people. Because what's going to happen, Browski, is that you're going to have the civilized people mix up with the weirdos, and we're going to have what they used to say on The Simpsons, a quibapple.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's my only, my piece of advice for Knicks fans. And there's a divide, from Knicks fans that's been there, that's been through Langston Galloway and Elton Brand. You know what I mean? Um, so again, we have to, celebrate, but celebrate when it means something. And again, Browski, I see, people say that they celebrating like they won the championship. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, because they haven't.
But let me say this to you, and I'm not defending it. How many older cats do you see out there? All you see is these new cats who don't. They're just out there for the sake of being out there.
Yeah.
They can't tell you five people on the Knicks.
Look, that is like the chaos.
Man, they just like the chaos.
Yeah.
And all I'm saying to y'all fresh baby breaths, y'all can celebrate all you want. I want you to celebrate. You know what I mean? We deserve it. But don't act like y'all the be all the end all. Make some room for the
Mhm.
Spike Lees. You know what I mean? The Tracy Morgans. You know what I mean? Make some room for the Jada Kisses. You know what I mean? Make some room for those cats that's been there. Right? We ain't gotta worry about having room for Clyde Frazier and Bernard King because they already gonna have a spot. We ain't gotta worry about that. But the people that's been suffering, you know what I mean? Broski and them still laugh at us about Patrick Ewing missing the finger roll in Game 7. They still talk about 2 for 18. It was talking about that the other day. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So, again, let's give them something to talk about. Let's go. But let's ramp it up the right way, man. You know what I mean? And I'll leave that at that because I don't want to jinx my squad. 51-51, second quarter, about 5:40 left to play. We're gonna get into Browski's favorite part of the show, where she gets to get down on some things, good, bad, or indifferent. Let's go, Kim. What you looking at and getting down on tonight?
I'm gonna get down on what we were talking about behind the scenes with this whole Angel Reese issue. Um, they've been tearing her up in the media. Like she's been been pulled through the ringer, and there's no reason for it, you know. Um, but like I told you behind the scenes, they need a villain. It's a storyline, you know. They need a villain. They need something to cover up, you know, the real story that should be told. You know, we need to be talking about why we only getting one franchise per year. We need to talk about why you drafting, you know, first round picks getting cut even before they even get a chance to play in the league. You know, they don't even they just out here, you know, just like nothing. And now you have Angel Reese, she had, little thing with Caitlin Clark, Caitlin, the little hard foul. They called it flagrant foul. I didn't really think it was a flagrant foul, but it just keep pushing the narrative that,
Mm-hmm.
that Angel's the villain, Caitlyn is the victim. She hates her, blasey blasey, and then you got the whole thing with the Fever fans getting on Angel Reese, making it like a hostile environment when she played in Indiana. And now when we talk about all the other you know commentators and analysts, they start talking about Angel's game, how she plays, and we all know how she plays. She's been playing like this for years in college. She's very unorthodox. There's really no real fundamental, no real footwork. But it's like now they are you know making it such a big deal because they don't want to talk about the real issues of this league. We know this is still a pretty young league. We know there's some things that needs to be worked out and some things that need to be addressed, and they're just not addressing those issues. They want to keep talking about Angel Reese. She's young. She's still finding her spot, in this league. Um, you may not like how she plays the game, but it's like they're more attacking her personally, like Angel Reese the person, not Angel Reese the athlete.
Basketball player, right?
Yeah, like we're not really talking about her game like that. It's like they ever have a problem with her personally, like she out here doing things intentionally against people. It's weird. I think they need to ease up off of her, back up. She's not the face of the league. But y'all making her the villain of the league, because you're looking for a villain. So I just think they just need to chill out and just, give us some grace, and that's what I'm getting down
Dope. I like that, Browski. Um, I'm going to get down on me. Yeah, that's what we get down on me. Um, I said a couple years ago, maybe longer than that, maybe ever since Thibodeau's been on the Knicks coach, that when the Knicks got right, and when I mean by
on.
right, a perennial top 1, 2 in the East, no question about it, Thibodeau wouldn't be the coach. Um, if the Knicks can, get through a couple of situations and scenarios, I'm gonna have to eat some crow. I
Mhm.
mean, for regardless of whatever Tom Thibodeau does or doesn't do, his coaching style or whatever, he's not out there on the floor, falling behind by 20 points. He's, not out there, also not out there on the floor, making those, comebacks. You know what I'm saying? Um, but again, let them do what they do. Not wishing on the guy's downfall or nothing. But I said it ever since he came, became the Knicks coach. And the numbers, again, I'm not a numbers dude, but the numbers, speak. You know, top, players in the league or most minutes, are Knicks. You
Yeah.
know, we've seen it in these playoffs. So again, so I'm getting down on that. Tom Thibodeau can make me look like an idiot. I'll eat that. So be it. I'll be at the parade celebrating with everybody else. Down in Sports Talk, we are in the building. Another Tuesday night knockdown. Anything else you want to say or touch on in regards to baseball? Anything, Browski, before we get up out of here?
Uh, no, Philly's still up 1-0, top of the eighth against the Braves. Um, enjoy these NBA playoffs.
All right. Enjoy these NBA playoffs. You heard it from Browski. Enjoy these NBA playoffs. Um, be safe. Do what you do. Hope everybody, do what they do because June is coming.
Yes,
Right around the corner and all that good stuff. We'll be here next week to
next
talk
week.
about some more NBA. Get ready for the NBA finals and all that good stuff. All right,
Yep,
Browski don't go
yep.
nowhere. This is left-handed at RM Des on Twitter, which is this right now. That's Browski over there. All right, y'all make sure y'all check it out. Y'all the Bears always in the building. And like I said earlier in the show, man, they can't seem to keep Yada Bear's name. I don't know. Maybe they like say. I mean, because she got commercials and stuff. Yada yada yada. That's Yada Bear right there. Yada yada yada. You know what I mean? She said the residuals are slow to come. You know
Very
what I
slow.
mean?
Very slow.
They,
Snail's
long as they
pace.
on their way. That's Yada Bear, yo. I'm left-handed, man. Down in the sports talk, we out. Don't go to Webowski. We'll talk to y'all next week. All right, y'all be good. Be safe to where y'all go, and let's go Knicks. All right, be good.
Peace.
Peace.